Alrighty. Let's turn that music down. There we go. Welcome back. Slay the Gray Hobby Hangout. Excuse me. So tonight, I'm going to be finishing, or trying to finish, the Ballistus Dreadnought that I started last week. So yeah, you'll recall we did the edge highlighting on all the armor. And then previous week, I had done a lot of the base coats for the metal and the washes and all that. So I think we're at the point where I can finish this up today. And if you're joining after the fact, you found the stream on the channel and you're watching it, hello, my name is Sam. I paint. I live stream on Mondays every week at 7 p.m. Central Time. The channel, Big Nerds Wargaming, we have a lot of wargaming content, battle reports, painting, terrain, crafting, all the like. So check out the videos on the channel, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Yeah, so I'm going to start with doing some colors on the base. So this guy's not glued together, so I'm just going to pop him off. And this foot is also not glued down. I'm going to pop it off so I don't get paint on there. Yeah. So for my Ultramarines, I have them on kind of a reddish earth ground. So I actually do that with a mixture of field gray, and from Army Painter with, where are you? Bugman's Glow. So I'm just going to give this a good shake and mix up my colors on the wet palette here. And then we'll go back to the Dreadnought while this is drying. These Army Painter paints need to be shaken a lot because they mix very slowly. Alright, so it's usually about 50-50 mix. Oh, that might be too much, but grab a big brush here. Yeah, big Citadel large base brush. That ought to do it. So get about 50-50 mixture of Bugman's and Field Gray. Just gonna give these a good mix here. So it should look like a kind of a reddish brown gray color. The color on itself is kind of ugly, but we're doing a brown wash and then some orange dry brushing to kind of make it look more like red earth. So just add a little bit of water to this and start painting the base. I get all around the dirt here. He's kind of on a rock, so I might make that a different color, maybe like a gray. But there's some sand going up to the rock, so I'm going to get that all blocked in with this color. Go in with a little bit more precision and paint up that rock. This might take 2 coats as well. That blue spray primer that I used, or base coat, shines through this mixture here. It's kind of thin. Not a very strong pigment. Just gonna get full coverage there, all around the base. And we'll set that aside and let it dry a little bit. Get all the way up to the edge here. I'll wash off my brush. We let that dry. Might need to make some more of that mixture. I used up almost all of it already. I thought I had made way too much, but I was wrong. So we're going to let this base dry, and while that dries, I'll move on to the dreadnought. I'll come back to this base. So I'll shove that aside. And onto the dreadnought itself. We're going to start with some metallic details, I think. Can I get this arm off? So we got some skulls. Some details on the gun, maybe. Just kind of looking at what we got here to work with. Yeah, let's do some silver metallics, I think. So I'm going to grab Stormhole Silver. Give that a good shake. And get some of these metal details with Stormhole Silver. So I just got a medium layer brush. Get these brushes out of my way. Get some of that on my palette. A little bit of water. I think I'm going to do a very thin, almost glaze of silver. Right in this rocket pod area. Just to brighten it up a bit. Just gonna paint around these rockets that are sticking out. I'm gonna have to go back and paint those as well. We're not gonna leave them metal colored. Just want to break up the metal a little bit. There's a lot of sameness going on with all the metal in this. So by painting this a little bit lighter, it'll stand out and look a little different. There we go, we got the rocket pod. Also these lights, I'm going to paint the light that bright silver. Now I'll go over that with some technical paint to make it look kind of like a lens or something. Alright, so on the dreadnought itself, he's got this little skull cross thing here, so I'm going to paint that silver instead of our typical gold. Just gonna get that all silver and blocked in. really focus on the top here because that's what you're going to see as you're looking down at the model when it's on the table. Bottom I'm not as worried about, but I'll try to get that nice and clean as well. There we go. So on the back here, he's got a little skull in this cog. I think I'll do that in silver too. Just gonna be very careful not to get this on the blue. I've spent so much time working up to. Should I get these cogs painted in silver without getting it on the blue? Looks like I got a little bit on there, but I think we're still okay. Whoops! Oh, that could have been bad. Open pot of paint, dropped the dreadnought. Ooh, that could have been bad. Alright, gotta hold on to this a little bit tighter. Watch what I'm doing. Alright, so I'm gonna paint these lights silver. And then this inner vent or window on the canopy in front of the sarcophagus, I'm going to paint that silver as well. Just to add a little bit of variation. Oops. I got it on the gold. Let's not panic, and we will just take care of that with some water. Taken care of. Think for yourself. I should be doing the same thing, but the Dark Angels Codex didn't exactly help motivate me. It's all good. Just pushing ahead, obviously. That's right. Welcome. Thank yourself. Been working on this guy on stream for a couple weeks now. I'm hoping to get him all wrapped up tonight. Just got some minor details left to do, really. All the big parts are already painted up. Appreciate the stream. Taking some pointers. I'm still new and in debt. Haha, looks great. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm just kind of going through what I normally do and kind of talking through what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Hopefully it's informative, entertaining, what have you. There's something jammed in this gun barrel. I just noticed. I get that out of there. It's a little paint flake. I don't know how that got in there. There we go. So this base is still drying. It's going to need a second coat. It's not covering very well. While that's drying, I will move on, and we're going to do some gold detailing on the front. I think that's the only spot where there's gold. Oh, there's also this little guy here on the gun, so we'll paint that gold too. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see. Oops, wrong way. A little bit closer what I'm doing. Good evening, David. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us once again. Hoping to get this walking coffin done tonight. Gold. There's the gold. I do my usual gold recipe for this. Retributor armor as a base, and then I'm going to do a wash, and then some layering with Retributor armor and silver. It's going to look real nice. I'm also going to close my paint pot this time, so if I drop my dreadnought, I'm not going to spill paint everywhere. Close call. Alright. So just getting a little bit of water on my brush. Getting it out a little bit on the wet palette. And I'm going to very carefully paint this Aquila on the chest. It's like a body of an eagle with the skull of a man. I don't think I've seen this pattern. You think a vortex mixer is worth it? Perhaps $35? Yeah, a vortex mixer, I think it might be worth it. At a bare minimum, I would really recommend the little mixing balls. Army Painter sells them, especially if you're using Army Painter paints, because those paints just are notorious for needing a lot of mixing. But I pop them in all my Citadel pots as well. Give them a good shake, and they really do help mix the paint up a lot quicker. Especially like things like the Necron Tesseract glow, like this gets really separated, but I have a mixing ball in here, so it'll really mix up nice and quickly once you start shaking it, and it breaks free from the muck. But yeah, I have yet to actually get a vortex. I've been thinking about it. I've been looking at some on like Amazon. They're like $35 or so, like you mentioned. Yeah, I might get one. Especially since I've been doing this pretty regularly with the Monday night streams. Just kind of speed up, and you won't see me shaking a paint pot. I feel like nobody looks good shaking a paint pot. It's just so goofy looking. I'm gonna buy some mixing balls. Yeah, from your local shop. Yes, absolutely, from your local shop if possible. I always hate seeing local places struggle and shut down. So even if you go and play a game there, I always try to buy just a little something to support them. Like a Battletech blind box or pot of paint or something. But yeah, the mixing balls are great. And one pack will last you a very long time. I think I'm on my second pack, and I have a pretty big collection of paints already. But yeah, if you just paint one army, one pack of mixing balls will probably last you. Alright, that's painted. Might need a little second coat there. And we'll get this on the las cannon. The Army Painter mixing ball set comes with 100. Yeah, you get quite a bit. I might actually still be on my first pack, to be honest. I also use the Army Painter wet palette, which is great because they sell the sponges and the sheets. They're pretty reasonably priced. It's like 20 bucks, and you get 50 sheets and 2 sponges. So I replace the sponge every 25 sheets. I think I'm on like my second or third refill in going on 3 years. Definitely worth it, I think, just for working with the paints. Something I wish I had a long time ago when I first started in my youth. But wet palettes weren't really super popular or a thing back then. Just going in with a second coat on the Aquila here on his chest. Get a nice covering of that base coat. Alright, so I think the base is dry enough for a second coat, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I need my big brush for that. So once again, that was 1 part Bugman's Glow, 1 part Army Painter Field Gray. So I'm just going to go ahead and mix that back here on my palette. 1 part Field Gray. Just a little bit more part in there. There we go. And 1 part Bugman's Glow. Let's get that nicely mixed up here. It's kind of an ugly color, very ugly. But when it's all done, it'll look not so ugly. Add a little bit of water. I do think overall Citadel paints are the best paints around. Good coverage. Not a fan of the painter pots. I 100% agree. Overall, they're very good. The pots do get annoying at times. Mainly when they clog up in the lid. Although Army Painter, the dropper bottles, I've had those clog up. You have to like stick a pin down them to unclog them. I've had them where you're squeezing them because they're clogged and then the top comes off and paint comes out. I guess every vessel has their flaws. I'm really curious to try Duncan Rhodes' Too Thin Coats line of paints. I found a store local to me that sells them, so I've yet to check this place out because it's not my usual gaming store, but I saw in their pictures on Facebook that they had a Duncan Rhodes Too Thin Coat stand, so which I thought was pretty cool. So I think if I go in there, I might pick a few colors up and take them for a test drive. See how they stack up. All right. And just clean it off my brush here, and then we're going to go back to the Dreadnought while we let this dry. Just going to shove this aside. Okay, so now I'm going to... The gold has dried on the Aquila. And the silver is dried, so just going to do some washes here. My biggest fear with the Too Thin Coats is they work across different paint styles. I think they'll be pretty comparable to, from what I've seen, other people online are reviewing them. They kind of seem very comparable to Citadel paints, or Army Painter. Not the speed paints, but just like the standard, acrylic. So I'm going to do some Nuln Oil on the silver here to pick out those details. And Nuln Oil here on the center piece there. Whoop. We're going to leave that as is. And now we're going to do Reichland Flesh Shade. We're going to do that on the gold on the center here. And there we go. Camera focus is a little unpredictable tonight. I'm trying to paint with a little bit more zoomed in so you guys can see the detail a bit better. So we do Reichland Flesh Shade on the gold. Just really makes it look really warm and just visually interesting. I always try to never leave metal unwashed when I paint any metallic. Definitely benefit from a wash. You can always go to the tried and true hobby acrylics. Get a local hobby shop, a local Michaels Jones, 50 cents. Yeah, I've tried to paint with those. I paint with terrain with those sometimes, and they I don't know, the consistency, it's not quite the same as these. I feel like the formula is just a little bit better and more ideal for painting small things compared to like craft paint. But I mean, craft paint definitely works good for terrain though, I think. But I do think that miniature paints are formulated just a little bit differently, and are more ideal right out of the pot, or closer to right out of the pot. Less futzing around. Corn red. We're gonna do corn red for the missile launchers, or the missiles coming out of the pod. Two thin coats, my friend. Yeah, I suppose you could, or 3 or 4. You know, doesn't have to be 2. It's just gotta be what is required. You do some corn red for these missiles sticking out of the missile pod. Thin down that corn red. Duncan's words are painting gospel. They sure are. Just gonna get these all painted up red here. Very carefully. I think I mentioned this before, but corn red is a good red. It covers very nicely. You can thin it down. You can usually accomplish what you're doing with one coat with this. It's very good red. Going to kind of work my brush in there, going around, kind of jabbing it down a little bit. I missed a spot over here. Let me get that. There we go. Corn red is an amazing red. Again, wash, highlight, up. Very nice results. Without fear of going orange or pink. Missed a spot. Yeah. Gotta touch it up. That's what you do. Missing a spot is easier to fix than missing a spot and getting it all over. Alright, I got the missile launcher all painted up there. Alright. And now I'm bouncing around here. This base is still a little wet. However, I'm gonna get that rack painted up. So I'm just gonna do that with Mechanicus Standard. This is a nice warmish gray, dark color. Covers nicely. So just gonna block this in with Mechanicus Standard. We got some Tyranid Leviathan Creep on this rack. Or I could paint it green and it'll look like some vines or something. But because this is like my red planet coloring on the base, I'll just go with the Tyranid Creep color. I probably could use a slightly bigger brush for this. It's a big rack. But I've started. So, I don't know. I don't think it's worth switching brushes yet. Rack all painted in with Mechanicus Standard. I think for the Tyranid Creep, I'm gonna do like a purple. I think that's usually the color I do. I'm trying to remember what I did for my Norn Emissary. I did it purple or green, or maybe I did purple on one and then green on the other. Because I had an Emissary and a Assimilator, so I painted the bases just a little bit different, just to kind of add some variation. I'm thinking purple. That'll look nice with the blue power armor. Or ceramite armor. It's not... Actually, does the Dreadnought have power armor? Is it considered power armor? Because they're not quite infantry. I get these racks down here painted in gray. I'm less concerned with getting full coverage on these rocks because they're kind of covered in the red dust. I want them to kind of blend into the red dust base. And get that all painted in there between these creeping vines. There we go. Vehicle armor, yeah. It's still made out of ceramite though, right? Or the Space Marine vehicle is made out of metal, like steel or whatever. It's a little lore thing. I think it's ceramite still. Now that I think about it, I feel like it's been mentioned as ceramite in some of the books I've been going through. All right, so I'm gonna get lead bilger on this drainage grate. Come on, you can focus. You can focus. Get close. Pull it back. There we go. The autofocus is great when it knows what it wants to focus on. All right. So get that lead filter there. I believe it's all ceramite. Yeah, I think that is the case. This is still a little wet. Oh, I do have my hairdryer down here. I had it up in the other room, and I couldn't remember if I brought it back with me. So we're going to speed up the process a little bit. It might get a little loud. We're gonna dry this base off real quick. And there's the noise cancel filter doing its thing. Magic. I love it. My favorite hobby tool, the hairdryer. Looks more like a weapon than a hairdryer. What? Yeah. Oh, missed the spot of the... There's like some rebar hanging out of here, so I'll paint that with lead bilger. Actually, I think I broke the plastic here. Alright. Creep time. Let's just do Gene Stealer purple. And maybe I'll give it a purple wash to darken it up. I don't want to spend too much time painting these little small, insignificant details. Oh, I see there's some more rebar I missed. This is a nice, like, lavender color. And maybe I should have gone with a darker purple. I could highlight with this color. Oh well. I'll make this work. Oh, so it actually look cool with like a Caribou crimson wash over this purple. Kind of bring it closer to like a Screamer pink. kind of color. So what I love about washes is you can really kind of change the look of something. Add that depth of color variation. Alright, so we got the Gene Stealer purple. I'm just going to quickly go in there and catch the rebar pieces I missed. Some of this lead belcher I have in my palette. There we go. I think that's all of them. And now it is time for the Earth Shade. Agrax Earth Shade. Give this a good shake. And I gotta find me a big brush. I could probably use this big base brush again. And for my bases, I just do Agrax Earthshade over the whole thing after I've done my mixture of the Field Gray and Bugman's Glow. You get this nice brown dirt look with a little bit of a red hue from the Bugman's. Kind of gives it a suggestion of red. And then once this is all dry, I'm going to do a light dry brush with Troll Slayer Orange. And then it'll all come together. Going to also do brown on this stone here. Trying not to get it on the Dreadnought feet. And I want to get this washed down on the base early on here because I'm going to set this aside and just let it dry while we work on the rest of the Dreadnought's details. And then I think towards the end we'll be all done and this will be dry and finish it up and slap it on the base. There, so I'll just set that aside. And if it's not dry in time, I will take out the hair dryer and work my magic. Okay, so next up, I'm going to do some of the scroll work on Dreadnought. So we got these purity seals hanging off around here on the back, on the front, and on the gun here. So I'm going to do one of the recipes I use for parchment. I'll either do Ushati bone or wraith bone, but I think I'm gonna do decisions. I'm actually gonna do something a little bit different. I'll make this parchment look more dirty, so I'm gonna do Steel Legion Drab as a base, and then we'll do some Karak Stone. Then we'll do a little bit of highlights with, actually, maybe highlights with Upshati Bone. I think that'll work. All right. So just gonna start with Steel Legion Drab. Just to lay down that initial brown color on the paper. Something to really just block out the blue. So it doesn't shine through because we don't want that. The back side of this purity seal. Oath of Moment. And then this one on the back here. Oh, maybe I'll do some battle damage too. We have time. Just a little bit. I always like to make the vehicles a little damaged here and there. Get that parchment base coat, and then I think we have, yes, some on this las cannon. Get parchment blocked in with Steel Legion. We'll build up our tans. It should look like some dirty, dirty paper that's been strapped to this walking tin can. Neither tin nor a can. All right, and next color is going to be corn red. Haha. Oh, I missed a parchment. Let me get that one real quick. This is the center one here. This could almost actually be gold, now that I think about it. I'm wondering if that should just be gold. It is kind of like sculpted scroll work. Come on. Focus, focus, focus. There we go. Nah, we'll make it actual paper. It'll be fine. There is some gold detailing that I did miss though on the bottom, so just get that painted in. A little bit on the foot here I missed. There you go. All right. So that the Steel Legion drab is down. Now we're going to do Karak Stone. Is the next layer. I'm going to layer this on over the Steel Legion. I'm trying to leave the Steel Legion in the recesses. Just going to kind of build up our layers. The parchment. Also trying to keep this fairly thin paint so that way that brown base coat will show through. We'll get this center parchment here while we're at it. Now, usually my go-to for parchment is less colors. Maybe a base coat, a wash, and then like a highlight. But I don't know, sometimes I like to mess around with building up from dark to light. You can get some really nice results with a little bit of patience. So that's the goal here. Alright, so then after this color, I'm going to do corn red. And I'm just going to get those wax seals painted up. Base coat for that. The back sides of these. Not too worried about those since you won't really see the back sides of those parchments. There's nothing in this arm, right? Yeah, we're good. Oh! Oh! I missed a couple spots. He's got some stuff on his legs. On the shins. There's a purity seal here, so I gotta get Steel Legion down there. And then we also have this shin scroll work. Don't you hate it when that happens? You're like already in the second step of your color, and then you realize that there's stuff you forgot to paint. You gotta go backwards. Now I need to open up my Steel Legion because I need more Steel Legion. Alright. Get that nice brown base color down. Everyone's got a different strategy for parchment. I think I've asked this before, but what's your recipe for parchment? Can't remember what it was. Or you're like me, where you do something different every time. Alright, so now we'll get this purity seal on the back here. And on the shin. Might just be a little bit too thin. There we go. And then I'll let the parchment dry a little bit before I go in with my final color. And I'll just get these wax seals all painted up with corn red. Oh, I also forgot to paint this silver cog on the back with Nuln Oil. Out of sight, out of mind. Let's go back and fix that. We got these wax seals on the las cannon. So I like to do these with corn red, and then I usually go over it with a wash Caribord Crimson. That's a nice one that goes over red. You get some nice, like, almost purplish undertones in the deepest recesses as it pools. That blends very nicely with red. Especially corn red that's already got kind of a very dark red, almost heading towards that purple side of the spectrum. Just get some Nuln Oil on this cog back here. There we go. Alright. Then we'll go in with our final color on the parchment. That's going to be Ubshati Bone. Give this a good shake. And we'll start doing some metal detailing. You know, Shady Bone looks a little too dark for me. I think I'm gonna call an audible and go with Wraithbone instead. Or maybe a mixture of Wraithbone and Shadi. Yeah, I'll probably go that route. Oh yeah, that looks a bit better. I'm doing about a 50-50 of Ushadi and Wraithbone. And then for this, I'm going to grab a smaller brush. Smaller tipped brush, I should say. Something like this. This is the one from last week where I... Focus. There we go. This is from last week where I did my highlight work with that. On the armor. So... just going to come in here. Just do some very targeted highlights with this mixture on the parchment. All I'm doing is working up from dark to light with some layering. Yeah, in this parchment, I didn't even use a wash. If you're in a hurry or you don't want to, do as many steps, you could do this with like a base coat and a wash, and then just a quick dry brush of a lighter color. But I thought I'd go through and do the full build up here, just to kind of mix it up from my standard process. I bounce back and forth between methods that take longer and quicker. It all depends on what I'm working on. Like infantry, I'll usually go for the quicker options. Finding that right balance between quality and speed. Slowly building up these. Edges here. These bigger ones are a little tricky. It's like, do you just paint the whole thing or just try to stay on the edges here? We don't want it to look too much like it's just got like a box border. So I'm trying to paint this in kind of like how the light would fall. I feel like some of these are looking real nice. Others are, they're just alright. But I'm not going to get too bent out of shape about it. Just carry on. A little mental note of what I want to do next time. Alright, those of you in chat, give me a name for this fallen brother. And I will try my best to paint it on his name plate there. So, let me know what you think. While you do that, I will start doing the gold. So I'm mixing 50-50 Stormhull Silver with Retributor Armor. We're going to come in here and do some highlights on the Aquila here. These wings. Just breaking up that gold. Yeah, it's already looking much nicer. And we'll do the same. No names? No names for our fallen Dreadnought brother? I think my other Dreadnought, I named him Gaius. Give me a nice Roman name. I'm thinking of one too, and I don't know. Alright, so we're going to do some power cables. And for this, I'm going to use some contrast paints, I think. Let's go with red and orc flesh. So we have flesh tears red and orc flesh. Alright, I'm going to go with Brother Janus. That's the name we'll give this guy. Alright, orc flesh. So, just going to add some coloring to some of these wires. So, make this one right here green. And contrast paint is great for this. This is a very similar thing that I did with the Gallo Dark Imperial ship terrain. I just did contrast paints over the metallic. Come on, focus. There we go. It'll just add a little splash of color. You know, I think I might actually do that on the las cannon cable too. Even though it's already black, I think just adding a hue of green to this. Yeah, we're just gonna do orc flesh over this bundle of cables here. And it'll come out just a very dark, dark green. I think I like the way that looks, so. If this ends up looking stupid, we'll just paint over it. Yeah, I like that. Oh, missed a spot. Let me get that spot I missed. Alright, and then we're going to do some red. Flesh Terror is red. This is one of my favorite contrast paints. Just going to do this cable right here. Come on, focus. There we go. This cable right here. Flesh Terror is red. Then this cable up here. I'm also going to paint this light red. I feel like there's another light. Oh yeah, this lens right here. We're going to paint that one red as well. The Flesh Terror is red. It's going to go right over that Stormhouse Silver base coat. So it looks nice and bright. I like throwing in contrast paints here and there. So just another part of the tool belt. And then for this light here, I'm going to do Casadora Yellow Shade. This is a good recipe for lights. If you want to have kind of like a yellowy glow without having to layer up a bunch of colors. This is a nice quick way to do lights. So all you do is have a nice light metallic base coat and then you go over it with yellow. And there you go. Nice little yellow light there. We'll put this cover back on. And there you can see some of the wires and the color I added in there. It's all coming together. Starting to look like a finished piece almost. But yeah, the name. What did I say, Brother Janus? I'm gonna paint his name on there with some black, Abaddon black. I use the same brush I did the highlights with. I think it's got a fine enough tip for that. So, when doing freehand scroll work, I like to make it really thin. Find a nice thin, fine pointed brush. Just gonna make that nice and thin. And then we're gonna do Janus, Janus. We know we need the U in the center. And we need the N in the center. What am I doing? What am I doing? Turn this into an N. The U goes right here. Suppose I could do JAINUS. think we'll go that route. Turn this mess up into an eye. We'll get the J in here. I think we did it. Janus. Brother Janus. We'll just do like Maxius down there. Sounds like some Imperial Latin. Not Latin. All that good stuff. Alright, well, the base is done. Nice and dry. I think I might actually be in a spot where I can just assemble this guy. Oh, you know what? I did not do the Caribor Crimson on the seals. Let me do that real quick. And then I think I'll do some decals. So Caribor Crimson on the seals here. Sometimes I highlight the seals, sometimes I don't, but at least doing the wash, it's such an easy step to do. Might as well. Yes. Now we're gonna do a dry brush on the base. I'm gonna do that with Troll Slayer Orange. I'm gonna grab a nice big dry brush for that. We'll just use this Citadel one, medium dry brush. Work that into the bristles. My paper towel here. I usually like to have it kind of heavy. We're just gonna flick it down across the rocks on this base. So it's kind of somewhere between a dry brush and an overbrush. Yeah, I may have worked too much paint off. Let me get some more paint. It's always easier to add more than to take it away, so err on the side of caution when you're dry brushing. And there we go. Nice red earth base. I like the way that looks. Gotta clean off my dry brush here. So some of these paints that really leave, they really stain the bristles orange like that. See that? Little trick I do is I take a little plastic container and have an airbrush cleaner. This stuff works really well. Isopropyl alcohol also works very well if you don't have airbrush cleaner. And I just kind of work it into the bristles. And I dab it out. Go back to wash it with water. Work it through the bristles again. This usually works pretty well. It's we still got some orange staining in there, but I did get a bit more out on my paper towel here, you can see. So all right. Next up, I think, is I'm gonna rim this base with field gray, and then we're gonna do some decals and slap it together, and I think this guy will be done. That'll be very exciting. Just gotta find my brush for that. I'll just use this big junk brush, my base rim. Get the right consistency with the paint, a little bit of water. And we'll go around. This Army Painter paint definitely is a multi-coat paint. It's got a very strange consistency. It's like thick, but it doesn't cover very well. So you have to thin it down, which makes it cover even less well. And then you have to do 2, sometimes 3 coats. This particular color, at least. That base rim painted. Initial coat, and we'll come around, do another one after this dries. Set that aside. And now I think we're gonna do some decals. So I have my transfer sheets. Grab a little dish here. I'm gonna zoom us out just a hair. Well, I definitely like the skull. I think we'll put the skull on him somewhere. Yeah, that's a must. Cut that one out. We'll do one of these big ultramarines. I like this white one. We'll do the white horseshoe. I think we'll put this on his gun right there. We'll do the skull on the las gun. Oh, we also have this cool, like, eagle. I like the eagle. Some chain. Some numbers. Some new options. I also have this transfer sheet from Leviathan. I think I'm gonna do some checker going down his leg. I think that would be really cool. Gonna cut that in half. Some white checker going down his leg. And then let's also do one more. Let's do the we'll give him a number 1. And we'll give him another horseshoe on the other leg. Yeah, I think that'll look good. Alright. So for decals, let me make some space here so we can see what I'm doing. I like to use these little plastic mixing pads. I usually keep a squeezer bottle of water. So we'll start with this missile launcher and this Ultramarines logo. Just coat it in water there. I will also get this one wet. And we'll do the checker pattern as well. Come on. So the squeezer bottle's almost empty. So it's not working with me. And we'll just let those sit just a little bit. I'm gonna grab some water. All right. And then I take a brush. This brush might do. Oh, it's kind of. Yeah, I think a brush about this size will do. Just gonna get a little wet. I always see posts on Reddit of people with their transfer sheets, and they're like, "What are these? What am I supposed to do with these?" This is what you're supposed to do with them. All right. So then I get them positioned, and then sometimes I use my thumb, my finger, for these big decals. Or I'll use my hobby knife, X-Acto knife. It's just a little bit crooked, so I'm going to straighten it out. There. One down. Let's do the shins. Get this this guy here soaking. Try for that checker pattern. And then once it's in place, I try to smooth it out and get that water that's underneath it out as much as possible. So that the decal can adhere. This one's got a couple ripples in it because it's kind of wrapping around. And then we got this big eye, or one. I think this is for first company. Try to wick away excess water with the brush. Because too much water, your decal will be going all over the place. So what are we at? 8:30. Been doing this for an hour and a half so far. So I think after the decals, I'm gonna do some battle damage because we have time. I'm kind of time boxing myself to about 2 hours, give or take. And we got plenty of time, so we're gonna do some battle damage after these decals are set. I think that'll look good. And lastly, we have the skull I want to put on the las cannon. If I can get this off my desk here. Just gonna soak that up. Wait a spell, and kind of see if the decal's ready by working it with your brush a little bit. This one's got, it says no, I need to soak, so we'll let it soak. I'll just kind of weten our surface here. Alright, it's coming off now. Oh, what do we think about the skull going over the crease, or should we go below? Or up here? I think down here. We'll kind of center it on this panel. Yeah, that seems like a good option. Okay, and then I would like to take technical ard coat. And I put that in here, and I like to mix in some water, water it down. Now this does dry glossy, but when you're done with the whole model, I like to do a matte varnish coat. So this will all kind of blend back together. But I'll do an ard coat over the decals. This will make a nice protective barrier and help them adhere to the model better, as well as keep them from flaking off. Just gotta be careful not to move the decal around as you apply it. Wonderful. We're gonna let this dry. I'll go back and do another rim on the base, and then I'll come back to here, and we'll start doing some battle damage on this dreadnought. And it's gonna look super cool. Another coat of paint on this rim, and then I think it should be all set. We've almost come full circle. Gonna hit this with the hairdryer real quick. Okay, let's look at some battle damage. So this is gonna look wet and glossy. That's just the art coat. So I'm gonna have to do a matte varnish after we're all done here. But battle damage. We're gonna take some Rhinox hide. And Fenrisian Gray. Do I have a sponge handy? Let me go get a sponge. Alright, so I got this little tiny sponge brush. I'm gonna tear a piece of that off. I have tweezers. This'll work. So I'm just gonna do some battle damage in some spots with the sponge. So to do that, I'll get some Ranox hide on my palette. This technique is actually my first time doing this technique. I've seen it done a bunch online, so we'll see if I can replicate it like all the pros. So we're gonna dip. Let's just try somewhere in the back first. Focus. There you go. Oh yeah, that's quite lovely. Just doing a little bit here and there. I feel like with battle damage, less is more. So let's just kind of... couple spots here and there on the legs. Do a couple big chunks here and there. And you can do that old trick where you get it on the decal too. So that way it looks like it's cut through the design. Yeah, I'm liking the way this is looking. Just damaging up that beautiful power armor that we did. And we'll get some on his foot, why not? And the other foot. I'm washing off my sponge like it's a brush. I don't need that. Set aside. Okay, so now we got that laid down. So the next step is to take your highlight color, in this case, Fenrisian. Beat up them Ultramarines, yeah. What we're doing. Then you just take this and add some highlights. I'm gonna use this Reaper Miniatures brush because it's got a very nice fine point, but it's not too small. I think this will be probably the right size. And get some of this Fenrisian gray on my palette. Focus. All right. And then we just come in here and get the outside of some of this battle damage to give it that 3D effect. And I gotta say, wow, this is already looking great. It's a very simple process. Like I said, this is my first time actually doing it. I've seen it. I've seen it in lots of videos. I think our boy Duncan did this in a same colors too. I think he did Rhinox hide. He just kind of add that 3D effect. The holes or the scrapes. Wow, yeah, I like it. I'm really happy with the way this looks. It's a little nerve-wracking at first because you're like, oh crap, did I just ruin my thing I've spent all this time painting? Gonna get the edges along some of these marks. Amazing. It's so simple and it looks so good. Those are the best kind of techniques. Yeah. Yeah, just kind of scraping the brush along there. It's beneficial that this is all irregular patterns too, so get that bead of water off of here. Alright. Missile launcher. Yeah, I'm gonna have to definitely get some matte varnish on here. That gloss is very, very visible. Sealing in those decals. There we go. Alright, let's get this guy glued on his base. And then I'll spray him down with a matte varnish. And I think we'll be done. D-O-N-E. Face is a little warped, but just have to deal with it, I guess. Oh, that peg is a tight fit. And all I really gotta do is glue the legs in place. Everything else is just press fit, really, so... Whew. Glue came out fast. There we go. Our boy is done. I like this a lot. This is nice. Very pleased. Very pleased. I have this airbrush matte varnish. I bet you I could just brush this on if I so wanted to. But you know what? Maybe I'll just quickly do it in the airbrush. It'll take 2 seconds. And then I can officially say that this guy is done. Yeah, and this will just take away that shine from the hard coat. I'll blend everything together. And there we have it, the finished Ballistus Dreadnought. We are all done. Matte varnish applied, decals, battle damage, the whole 9 yards. I'm super happy with the way this turned out. If you watched this video, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me on stream. I'll be back next week with a new miniature I'll be painting. Or miniatures. Haven't decided. I got plenty in the backlog, so I'll be painting something, that's for sure. But I'm going to leave you all with that, and just posted a new Armada battle report today, so check that video out. Sorry it's a little late coming out from my regular schedule, but a few days behind. But it's out now, so check that out. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all next week. Bye.